This is Hashtag History, episode 119. I'm Rachel.
And I'm Leah.
And we're back and we are back.
And we're back.
For the final part of our Diana series, although this series could easily be a 10-parter. Last episode alone could have been a 2-parter, and this one could be a 2-parter. And I still am leaving out information that I want to talk about.
And these episodes are probably going to be longer than our average episodes.
Definitely.
So...
There's so much Diana content.
Yeah.
Would you be able to do a recap on what we kind of covered last week?
Sure. I won't go into too many details because I want you to go listen if you haven't.
Yes, you definitely, and you'll want to because we're jumping in at a weird place now if you haven't.
Yeah. But we talked about Diana's kind of childhood, her kind of courtship with Charles, and then their eventual engagement. We talked about kind of the role the media played and like what the media was like during her time as, you know, a newly married into the royal family princess. Mm-hmm. And we also talked about her children, her relationship with her children, and the absolutely horrendous relationship with her husband.
And that's exactly where we're picking up this week.
Great.
We're just going to continue on that depression train here.
Okay.
This week, we literally my very first line here in my notes. This week, we're going to be diving into more of the unhappiness in Diana's and Charles's marriage. Yeah. So perfect. Thank you for leading me directly to that.
You're welcome.
We're also going to be talking about the affairs that led in part to their awful divorce, the brief period of time that Diana appeared to be absolutely thriving post-divorce, her amazing charity work, and then her unfortunate and untimely death, and all of the conspiracy theories surrounding that. Like I mentioned in last week's episode, we are approaching our Princess Diana episodes a little differently than our other episodes in that Leah and I both did the research for this topic. So you'll get to hear from both of us throughout the episode, which is something I'm really excited about.
But let's be real, Rachel did most of it.
Well, because I could talk about her forever. Like, honestly, after doing these episodes, this is me being kind of serious, maybe as a Patreon, like the bonus things that I really want to talk about her
are
that
like little
didn't
things
come
about
up.
her.
Yes. Because there's a couple stories about her that didn't make their way into my final script, but I still really want to talk about them. Maybe that would be a Patreon thing.
Yeah, totally.
So that's why. That's why it's still 80% my voice. Mm-hmm. But you did also do research about things that I didn't really know anything about.
Yeah.
So that's something I'm really excited about with these episodes.
Yeah.
But first, something else I'm excited about is this cocktail that we have in front of us. I think we should try that.
I think so too.
Let's do it.
Okay.
I'm Rachel.
And I'm Leah. And this is Hashtag History, the podcast for both history nerds and history haters alike, where we dive into history's greatest stories of controversy, conspiracy, and corruption.
I was just about to say
Okay. Does their generosity ever end?
Whom do you speak of?
Luminol.
Oh, yes.
They sponsored this week's cocktail in addition to 4 other cocktails this season. So just a huge shout out to them. We can't stop singing their praises enough.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. If you're into true crime at all, we highly recommend you go check out their podcast. They're one of my favorite true crime podcasts.
Agreed.
Yeah. So last week we dove into Princess Diana's drinking habits, according to a prior chef of hers and the royal family's, Darren McGrady. In the article I found, he also mentioned some of her favorite snacks, which I just thought it would be fun to use as inspiration for this week's cocktail.
I love this.
So McGrady said that Diana enjoyed snacking on Cadbury Twirl chocolate bars.
Oh, that sounds great.
Yeah, which that actually would have been fun to base a cocktail on. Mm-hmm. Cheese and
yes.
lychee fruit.
Okay.
Yeah. So naturally, I had to create a lychee cocktail for us to try, which was inspired by like a few lychee cocktails I found online, but really it just ended up being my own creation. So
that's great.
You can blame me if it's horrible.
I will.
Great. So it contains watermelon liqueur, which is actually the only alcohol in this drink. But I do think you could probably add vodka to it if you wanted to make it a little more alcoholic. Lychee soda or like a lychee juice mixed with club soda, which is what we did. Lemon and lime juice, just a little bit of each. And then some muddled mint, Which I think, like I said, there's multiple lychee cocktails I found online, and all of them included mint, so it must go well together.
Lychee's the only thing I've never tried in here, but I mean, all together it smells really good. So I'm excited to try this.
And yeah, for those who don't know, lychee is like an Asian fruit. I think it derives from China.
Okay.
It smells interesting.
Yeah, it smelled interesting. It didn't smell bad. It just smelled interesting.
Yeah.
But mixed in with this cocktail, everything smells so good.
Yeah. All right.
Here we go.
Ready.
Seance.
Cheers. Wait, are you being sarcastic?
No.
Okay. I couldn't tell.
No, is it like bubblegummy?
Mm-hmm.
I don't taste the mint very much.
No, me neither.
Maybe I didn't muddle it well.
I mean, it's okay. I think it's fine without it. This is much more of a summer drink, I feel like, though. It's very like light, refreshing, summery.
This is yummy. I like it. This is good. I'm going to put it at a 9.
Yeah, mine's a 9.
Woo! Great way to... I don't know if it's like great way to end the episode on Princess Diana, the one that she dies in.
Yeah, fantastic.
Great.
Yeah.
At least there's one good thing to come out of this episode, and it is this cocktail.
Yeah, so even though she didn't really drink cocktails, maybe because it was lychee, she would have liked this one.
I think she would have. So where we left off last week's episode was with Diana's realization that Charles and Camilla were indeed seeing each other again. I kind of mentioned this in last week's episode. There was a period of time where they had stopped. Keep in mind, they're both married. So, sometimes things get a little difficult to continue affairs. But at this point, they had officially picked up seeing each other again and had been seeing each other again for a little while. Diana, at this point, she's kind of coming into her own and gaining a little bit of confidence. And she decided to take things within her own hands. And she actually confronted Camilla at a party that Diana had not been expected to show up at. Diana showed up at the party, and there she found her husband, Camilla, and another friend in a downstairs room chatting. And so she just walks right up to them. She interrupts them, and she says that she needs a private word with Camilla.
Oh my God. If I could have been a fly on the wall of that room.
And the thing I love about this story, too, is Diana, when she retells it later, she does say she was like shaking like a leaf. Like, she's not superhuman.
No.
She is human, and she was freaking out about confronting her husband's lover.
Yeah.
But she still did it.
Mm-hmm.
So Charles and the friend, they leave the room. Charles goes like racing upstairs in a fluster like a little child to demand from others what Diana could possibly want from Camilla.
Gee, what could she possibly want?
I wonder what this could be about. As Diana later told the story, she said that she said to Camilla, quote, "I'm sorry I'm in the way. I obviously am in the way, and it must be hell for the both of you. But I do know what is going on. Don't treat me like an idiot. I know what's going on between you and Charles, and I just want you to know that," unquote. Camilla responded, quote, "You've got everything you ever wanted. You've got all the men in the world falling in love with you, and you've got 2 beautiful children. What more could you want?" Unquote. To which Diana responded, quote, "I want my husband."
Yeah.
Unquote.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I like how Diana did it. I like how
she
was
too. Like she's even shows a little empathy. She's like, I understand. It must be hard to not be able to be with the person you love. That must suck.
Yeah.
But like,
I'm not stupid.
Yeah. Don't treat me like I'm a child.
Yeah. I love that. She's just like, I know what's going on. I'm sorry for being in the way of what's going on, but don't treat me like an idiot. And then for Camilla, again, this story is being told by Diana, and so assuming this is how it all went down, Camilla to say something like, what more could you want? Like, I want my partner, I want my husband to not be cheating on me with you. Something else pretty major happened in 1989. Something some like to call Camilla Gate, while others call it Tampon Gate. Have you heard of this?
I've heard of Camilla Gate, but I don't know what it's in reference to. So hearing that it's called Tampon Gate also is strange.
Okay. So although it would not be published until 1993, this personal private telephone conversation actually took place in 1989, and it was between Charles and Camilla. It was recorded, and it included some rather interesting details. Now, this was a roughly 6-minute long phone call, so the bits I'm going to read from the transcript could be taken out of context. But to get the gist of it, it's this really sexy phone call where the two of them are talking about how much they miss each other and how they can't stand to be apart from one another.
I cannot imagine that man saying anything sexy.
It's, you know what? I encourage everyone to look up the transcript from this. If you can separate the fact that they're both cheating on their spouses, it's very romantic.
Really?
Yes.
Oh my God, I want to go listen.
You need to.
Yeah.
Because, well, don't listen because then you'll hear his voice. Read it.
Ew. Yeah, you're right.
Don't listen.
Ew, you're
Read
right.
the transcript.
Yeah.
Yeah. In the transcript.
Yes, you look quite nice.
That literally kills it immediately. But if you read the transcript, it kind of reads like a good romance novel.
All right.
Where I'm into both of the characters.
Okay.
Not that I'm giving them what do I want? Grace,
acceptance,
but it's kind of hot and I'm kind of into it. Okay, so anyway, they're talking about how much they miss each other. They can't stand to be apart from one another. Camilla says, quote, "I need you all the week, all the time," unquote. To which Charles responded, "Oh God, I'll just live inside your trousers or something. It would be much easier," unquote. The conversation then turns into this thing about Charles saying he should essentially just like reincarnate into a box of Tampax so that he can be around Camilla all the time. That part it's a bit interesting, but it's playful. And again, if you can separate the fact that these are two people cheating on their spouse, reading the transcript is actually very sweet.
Yeah.
You hear them like trying to hang up with each other nearly half a dozen times, but neither one of them wants to say goodnight. They talk about like, even when they do say goodnight, like, you're going to ring me first thing in the morning, right? And so on.
Okay.
Charles certainly was not alone in his affair. Diana had a few of her own.
Mm-hmm.
In 1985, Diana began an affair with her bodyguard, Barry Albert Mannicky. The following year, he would be transferred out of his position as her bodyguard. A move Diana suspected was because those around her had deemed their relationship inappropriate. Tragically, Barry would die in 1987 from a motorcycle accident, of which Diana said was, quote, "the biggest blow of my life," unquote. That's really sad. That's like...
Yeah, I mean, it's literally you can't be with the person that you're in love with, and then he dies. He's taken away from you, and then he dies.
And he's like the first guy, really, that she has a relationship with.
Like an actual natural, like, not that it's natural to cheat on your husband, but just like a naturally formed relationship.
Organic
relationship, yeah.
In 1986, an affair began between Diana and a man named James Hewitt. James was an officer in the household cavalry, and he had been giving Diana riding lessons. This relationship would last for 5 years. James was eventually deployed for the Gulf War, and that's what essentially ended the affair. James would later break Diana's heart, those are her own words, when he sold his story about their romance to an author for the 1994 book titled Princess in Love.
Yeah, that would break my heart too. Even if the relationship's over, don't divulge our
Why?
Our intimate moments.
It's so gross.
Yeah.
In 2003, which is years after Diana's death, James would try to sell some 64 letters that he had that Diana had written to him. He tried to sell them for 10 million pounds. That is so gross.
Yeah.
Now, before we move on to Diana's other romances, I do want to make one final note about James. If you take a look at a picture of him, say if you want to just type James Hewitt, tell me what the first and most obvious striking feature about him is.
His hair?
His hair.
Oh, I know where this is going.
Where's it going?
He looks a little more like her second son Harry than her husband does.
Yeah, he has red hair.
And this profile picture right here especially, have we ever done a paternity test?
Well, so there were it was reported in the tabloids for a long time that he was the father of Harry. If you look at them side by side, they do look similar.
They do.
They both have the red hair. And although, there are all these similarities.
I can also see similarities between him and his...
And there is no way that this could be true because Diana didn't even begin her affair with James until 2 years after Harry's birth.
Yeah.
But I do think that's something that definitely took off in the tabloids. And it's kind of fun to speculate now, even though there's no possibility of that being true.
Yeah.
Sometime in the 80s, Diana began an affair with a man she had known for quite some time named James Gilby. This affair would become a rather public one when, in 1992, another recorded phone call conversation.
What are people doing? Recording their phone calls?
I know. This conversation took place between Diana and Gilby in 1989, and in 1992 it was published. These tapes became known as Squidgy Gate because Gilby called Diana either Squidge or Squidgy, which is a British affectionate term, some 53 times on these tapes.
That's a British effect. Like, just my biggest takeaway from that. What?
Squidgy?
Squidgy?
Oh, my little squidgy. Yeah. They're actually like cringy. You can hear Gilby telling Diana how much he loves her and how he wants to hold her. And she's just like, okay. Like they're not as exciting as the tapes between Charles and Camilla.
Right. And something, I mean, I would never describe Diana as cold, but I mean, from the videos you see of her, especially with Charles, which may explain it, she's certainly like not comfortable with like she's reserved and like not huge on displays of affection toward, at least not romantic displays of affection up until other things.
Yeah.
So maybe it's the same with like romantic conversations, or maybe she just wasn't that into it. I don't know.
That's what I was just going to say is the latter thing that you said is she does have a multitude of romances over the years. You're not as into every partner.
Yes, totally.
And so maybe this was just like a guy to pass the time.
Yeah.
There were a few other romances that occurred, but only 2 others that I really want to talk about, and those won't occur until post-divorce. But before we jump into the divorce so that we can then talk about those romances, I know one of the other big things that Diana was involved in at this time were her charity efforts, and you, Leah, have a bunch of information about that.
Yeah, so I did want to do a bit of an overview of some of her many charitable contributions, because this is really kind of at the heart of why people loved her, especially later. It was like her giving and caring side, which kind of was on full view with her charity.
Yeah.
So Diana served as the patroness of many charitable organizations benefiting the homeless, youth, drug addicts, the elderly, among other causes. The list of these organizations and charities that she aided in is damn near endless and could honestly take an entire episode alone to just like read off.
Another bonus episode.
Right. It wouldn't be a fun bonus
it's
episode.
Just literally just reading like bullet points.
Yeah. But her most notable work was with HIV/AIDS patients and then also landmines. So I kind of wanted to focus in on those.
Yeah.
Diana started her work with AIDS patients in the 1980s. And as I mentioned in last week's episode, she was the first British royal to publicly make physical contact with AIDS patients, holding their hands, hugging them on multiple occasions. Her goal was really to destigmatize HIV and AIDS patients and put an end to the fear-mongering about the disease and how it spreads.
Which was a huge thing at this point. And I think we've talked about this before on the podcast, and I think even just personally to each other, where sometimes you can get annoyed with celebrities like bandwagoning.
Oh, totally.
Bandwagoning on a cause.
About that
during the Atlanta child murders.
Yes, yeah.
But the thing that has to be said about celebrities and high profile figures, even if they are doing a bandwagon thing, which I'm not saying she was doing bandwagon, she was the first.
Yeah.
But I can see there sometimes being an annoyance with like, what good are you doing with holding hands and hugging people? It actually makes a big difference. When a celebrity associates themselves with a cause, even if they're doing nothing more than a photo shoot at a hospital, it brought awareness to something that was neglected up to that point.
Yeah, and even more so for her particular like participation in the HIV AIDS like movement and supporting them is she wasn't just there taking pictures at a hospital with them. She was there taking pictures holding them.
Yeah.
Touching them, which like seeing a celebrity that you trust and love do that.
Yeah.
Even if I was told, don't touch an AIDS patient, that's all I've ever heard.
Yeah.
Even if that's all I've ever heard and I saw her do that, then I would suddenly be like, oh,
Diana does it.
And she's fine.
Yeah. Yeah.
It makes a big difference.
For sure.
So Nelson Mandela, which I don't feel like I need to explain who Nelson Mandela is.
No, not needed.
Okay. Once said, quote, when she stroked the limbs of someone with leprosy or sat on the bed of a man with HIV/AIDS and held his hand, she transformed public attitudes and improved the life chances of such people, end quote.
Wow.
Yeah. So I'm just going to do like a fast-paced kind of like list of ways she's contributed to HIV/AIDS patients.
Yeah.
Diana went on to open the AIDS ward in Middlesex Hospital in 1987 and the Landmark AIDS Center in South London in 1989.
Wow.
In 1990, she opened Grandma's House, a home for young AIDS patients in Washington, D.C.
I did not know that.
Yeah. She was a patron of the National AIDS Trust. She regularly visited London Lighthouse, which provided residential care for HIV patients. Diana established and led fundraising campaigns for AIDS research. And after meeting Nelson Mandela in 1997, they hatched a plan to team up their charitable organizations to fund and help people in South Africa with AIDS. This plan became a reality only after her death. Diana was also a patron of the Halo Trust, an organization that removes debris and landmines left behind after war. In 1997, pictures of Diana touring an Angolan minefield wearing a ballistics helmet and gear went viral. Halo contends that it was Diana and her work that brought attention to the landmines issue into the world's view. Prior to this, nobody was talking about it. It wasn't a bandwagon act on her part. It was truly she was the first.
Wow.
In 1997, she helped promote the American Red Cross Landmines campaign, giving a public speech on the subject. Just days before her death in August of 1997, she also visited Bosnia and Herzegovina with members of the Landmine Survivors Network. Diana is credited with introducing and spearheading the second reading of the Landmines Bill in 1998 at the British House of Commons. And a few months following her death, the international campaign to ban landmines won the Nobel Peace Prize.
I think something to note about all that, too, is this isn't necessary for her.
Landmines do not affect her world in any way.
Exactly. There are social events that the royal family has to make an appearance at. These are not them.
Yes.
And a lot of these come in her post-separation, post-divorce world where she definitely didn't have, there wasn't an expectation that she was doing these things.
In fact, I was just, you kind of led me perfectly into my kind of wrap up of this. In recognition of her effect as a philanthropist, Stephen Lee, director of the UK Institute of Charity Fundraising Managers, said, quote, her overall effect on charity is probably more significant than any other person's in the 20th century. Despite this, the royal family and the Queen in particular did not approve of most of her charitable causes, suggesting she get involved with, and this is a direct quote, something more pleasant.
Like what? Crochet?
Yes.
Tea parties? Again, we talked about this last week. It blows my mind how something that I can only see as an asset, they saw as a detriment. She is an asset. She is doing the things that not only you don't want to do and you're not skilled at doing, but things that you didn't even consider doing.
Yeah.
And bringing awareness to causes no one would know anything about because you do not raise awareness about them.
The royal family and their view on what is and isn't proper and improper is weird.
It's so weird. How is it improper to visit hospitals and rid the world of landmines and things like that? It's
not pleasant.
Oh, that's wild to me.
It's crazy. I know.
It's crazy. Hey everyone, Rachel here. And you all know that Leah and I both love to read. You also know, though, that we are busy all the time between full-time jobs, a side podcast gig, other everyday responsibilities. It can be super hard to find the time to read. And that's why we have been super enjoying Audible. Audible is the leading provider in spoken word entertainment and audiobooks. They have titles ranging from news, self-development, business, fiction, and more. Not only do they have audiobooks, though, they also have podcasts, wellness guidance programs, and more. The best thing about Audible is that you can download titles to listen to offline, anytime, anywhere, across all devices without losing your spot. And Audible has thousands of titles for you to choose from. The one I am currently listening to on Audible is Lincoln's Last Trial, the murder case that propelled him to the presidency. If you would also like to try out Audible, you can do so with a free 30-day trial now when you use our link at www.audibletrial.com/#history. Once again, that is www.audibletrial.com/#history. Thanks. All right. So now that we've talked about wonderful things about her, we're going to talk about the divorce.
Which is not so wonderful.
It's definitely not wonderful. One of the major factors in the lead up to the divorce was the publication of Andrew Morton's tell-all book titled Diana, Her True Story. Do you know about this book?
Not really.
Okay.
I feel like I've heard of it, but yeah.
Okay. Now, we've cited Morton several times, mostly in last week's episode. all of our citations from him are ones that give firsthand accounts of Diana's story from her personal experience. When this book was published in May of 1992, it was absolutely explosive. In 1992 alone, it sold more than 5 million copies. The book detailed Diana's horrendous marriage to Charles, her suicidal thoughts, her struggles with bulimia, her thoughts about Camilla, and more. This was all the first time that the public had formally learned about any of this outside of like the tabloids.
Yeah.
And much of what we know about Diana from her own words, much of my research for this episode is because of this book.
Yeah.
And this was the controversy surrounding this book because when it came out, Morton swore this was all true, but he wouldn't reveal his exact sources. It was assumed that Diana must have been his primary source in order for him to obtain this kind of information.
Yeah.
But the royal family denied this. They issued a public statement which said that Diana had nothing to do with the creation of this book. Both Morton and Diana would maintain for the remainder of her life that she had not been involved in the publication of the book. What many didn't know was that Diana had, for months, been sneaking tapes to Morton with her personal stories. She was straight up editing the manuscripts like by hand. To say Diana was involved in the publication of this book is a total understatement. She wrote the book pretty much.
Yeah. And that just kind of shows you how bad things must have gotten, where she was willing to throw this grenade into essentially her life, right? That is going to blow up.
It's the reason for, I'm literally just about to say like the effects of this book.
Yeah.
It definitely exploded her life. And yeah, I think that's a good thing to reflect on is like how bad were things that you were willing to completely expose even your own dirty little secrets.
Yeah. Yep.
Just to
maybe end the situation you're in.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Oh, man. The publication of this book was officially the end of their marriage, not only personally, but publicly. There's no way they could even attempt to make things appear to work at this point.
Yeah.
By the very next day after the publication of the book, they had begun negotiations for their separation. And things were nasty. Prince Philip wrote Diana horrible letters, blaming her for the breakdown of the marriage, and even told her that it was her behavior that had caused Charles to cheat on her. Regardless, on December 9th, 1992, the separation was publicly announced by the Prime Minister. As part of the separation, Diana was only granted time with her children every other weekend. She was also vilified in the media during this time, and as a response to this growing unwanted attention, she made an official speech on December 3rd, 1993, in which she said she would be stepping back from public life. This speech is only about a minute long, so I thought we'd listen to it here.
Sweet.
When I started my public life 12 years ago, I understood the media might be interested in what I did. I realized then their attention would inevitably focus on both our private and public lives.
She's changed so much.
But I was not aware of how overwhelming that attention would become, nor the extent to which it would affect both my public duties and my personal life in a manner that's been hard to bear. At the end of this year, when I've completed my diary of official engagements, I will be reducing the extent of the public life I've led so far.
In 1995, Diana did something that I personally think is peak Diana. Like everything about her in this moment we're about to talk about is just chef's kiss.
Oh, okay.
Just the way
what are we talking about?
It's if you look up, you just type in Princess Diana panorama interview. It's everything. It's the way I think she looks incredible.
Yeah.
She sounds incredible. She speaks so well and so confidently. I think she's just totally killing it in this interview. In November of 1995, a BBC interview with Diana for the show Panorama aired. This was an hour-long special and was Diana's first solo interview ever.
Which is insane.
Isn't that insane that she's made it this long in public life and has never been allowed to do an interview by herself up to this point?
Stupid.
In this interview, she would tell all. She spoke about Charles's affair with Camilla and about how, quote, there were 3 of us in this marriage, so it was a bit crowded.
I remember that quote.
Ugh. Iconic quote.
Iconic.
She also spoke about her depression, her suicide attempts, her bulimia, her affairs, and she even goes so far as to say that Charles isn't necessarily fit to be king one day.
I would concur.
But that's like pretty alarming to say something like that.
Oh yeah. This is unheard of. No one no one in well, I shouldn't say no one. I don't know all of like English royal history. But like it's pretty unusual for someone to leave the family and speak so bluntly and frankly about and negatively about them.
Definitely. And not only saying things like he was cheating on me, which those are alarming things to say, but are they shocking?
No, I think everybody knows.
But to say something like he's not fit to be king one day, that's a really big deal to say that.
Mm-hmm.
What's absolutely outrageous about this interview is that the interviewer, Martin Bashir, actually tricked Diana and her brother into doing this interview.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Martin, I didn't know this until I had done the research. Martin faked documents to make it look like their closest friends were selling secrets about them to British intelligence services, and that the best way to combat this would be to get their story out there first. He essentially banked on her paranoia and distrust of those around her to get her to do this interview, which is super freaking gross.
Like, I feel like the media has all these ethics that goes against.
Yeah.
You don't like strong arm someone into giving an interview.
And the reason I tell that story is not only to kind of put a little more context around this groundbreaking interview that she did, but also to highlight she did have like severe paranoia and some of it valid and some of it not because of the way she was being manipulated here. But like you talked about this in the last week's episode about kind of her obsession with seeing what articles were saying about her, what pictures were being taken of her. Mm-hmm. That also led to like paranoia.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
This interview, in addition to a handful of other things, is what officially led to the divorce. And before really diving into the research for this episode, I did not realize how long of a time period there was between the separation and the divorce.
I never really thought about it. Yeah.
Me neither. But it was pretty shocking to me to learn that while the separation was announced publicly in late 1992, Diana and Charles didn't actually divorce until August of 1996.
That's like a whole high school experience. 4 years,
that's the whole high school years. Yeah. Exactly. Encouraged by a letter from the Queen herself telling the couple to just get it over with and get divorced, the two met to finally settle the terms. At the end of it all, Diana received £17 million total, with an additional £400,000 per year. She received joint custody of the children, and she also was allowed to stay in Kensington Palace. Mm-hmm. Maybe the largest blow was that Diana would no longer be allowed to use the title of Her Royal Highness. Rather, her title would be Diana, Princess of Wales.
I don't really consider that a blow, and I would kind of be surprised if she did.
I've heard kind of different stories.
Yeah.
Most of them are like, she doesn't care.
Yeah.
But some of them I've heard that she did care, so much so that there's this quote that her son, William, told her after this happened. He said, quote, "Don't worry, mommy, I will give it back to you one day when I am king," unquote, which makes me want to sob.
Yeah.
But when I read that as a commoner, as a foreigner, what's the difference?
Yeah.
But, Her Royal Highness versus Princess of Wales, like, you're still a princess.
Yeah, you literally still have Disney princess status.
You still have the Disney princess status. But I guess, I mean, and this is just stuff that we don't understand.
Yeah, we weren't part of that world.
We're not a part of that world. This was a big deal to the Queen. Like, the Queen was like, she can have all the money she wants. She can have Kensington Palace. I never go there. I don't care.
Yeah.
She can do this, this, and this, but she cannot have this title. That's what matters to them.
Yeah.
It's a different world.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so we have now made it into Diana's post-divorce life, and we're going to talk about her just thriving.
Love it.
Beginning with her relationship with a man named Hasnat Khan, or she called him Natty.
Mm-hmm.
He was a heart surgeon that Diana met in 1995 when one of her friends had surgery, and Diana went to visit the friend at the hospital, and Hasnat was the surgeon that had performed the surgery. Apparently, she was so smitten with him that she went to visit this friend at the hospital every single day for like 2 weeks. Not so much to check on the friend, but to like get FaceTime with the doctor. The two of them would end up dating for 2 years and would break up only months before her death. According to many of her friends, Hasnat was the true love of her life.
That's what I've heard too.
Yeah. But of course, all relationships have their flaws. It appears as though the majority of their problems were that they just simply had different goals in life. He despised the media that followed her around and that was constantly trying to get the scoop on their relationship. Actually, something that I found really shocking in my research, there's no pictures of the two of them together, which
really
is kind of unbelievable that they were able to avoid it to that extent.
Yeah.
But that shows how much he hated it.
Yeah.
She also, this is kind of another one of the flaws in the relationship. She had all these dreams for them, none of which included the things that he was most passionate about, performing surgery.
Right.
She has
dedicated his life to that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's what he wants to do. That's what he's passionate about. That's what he's good at.
Yeah.
She has all these dreams of like, we'll travel the world and you'll help me become the ambassador of this and we'll tour this and we'll do this. And he's like, yeah, but like I like performing heart surgery.
Yeah. So when do I get to do that?
Exactly.
In these plans?
And finally, probably largest of all, he was abiding by his parents' wishes in which they said he could not marry a non-Muslim woman.
Yeah.
It's all really pretty tragic, and it's just sad to see what so many considered the love of her life not work out.
Yeah, it's sad to see, like, again, the Muslim not marrying a Muslim woman side of things too. It's like this. It's the same thing. It's like these family, religious, circumstantial things that I wish didn't matter necessarily when love's involved.
Exactly. And the extra sad thing, I didn't put this in my notes, so I don't have all the details on it, but apparently behind his back, which wasn't a good thing to do, but behind his back, she went to like visit his parents just to kind of get them to like her.
Yeah.
And the parents were very much like, we do like you.
We love you,
but you're
not Muslim.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. Like, of course, you're a wonderful person. We're glad that our son is happy, but you guys aren't getting married.
Yeah.
And that's just that. Like, you are or you are not Muslim.
Yeah.
The end.
Mm-hmm.
Not long after their relationship ended, or as some sources say, maybe during the relationship, she began a relationship with Dodi Al-Fayed, the son of the owner of the Harrods department stores. In 1997, all of these pictures exploded in the tabloids, showing Diana and Dodi kissing and cuddling on his yacht.
Yeah, and this is what I was alluding to, and I was like, I guess later on she was caught being a little more
she's not affectionate at all until yeah. It's pretty tragic, really, but it sounds like Diana wasn't as much into this relationship as she was into the idea of making Hasnat jealous.
Yeah.
Friends of hers said she asked them after these pictures of her and Dodi were released in the media, she asked them, quote, "Do you think Natty saw them?" Unquote. That makes me so sad.
Yeah.
That makes me so sad, especially because this is very shortly before her death. At the same time that this is all going on, Dodi also had a bit of a messy relationship history. In fact, at this same time, he was engaged to another woman named Kelly Fisher. When Kelly saw these paparazzi photos of Diana and Dodi, she actually hired attorney Gloria Allred, and she sued Dodi for breaching their agreement of an eventual marriage. I guess
I didn't know that aspect of it all. That's so funny.
And you kind of can. Like, there actually were kind of grounds for it because she alleged that she was a model, and she alleged that she had not taken a large modeling contract because she and Dodi were going to get married, and he makes this much, and he promised her, I make this much money. You don't need to take that contract. You don't need to do this. And so he breached a contract, like a verbal, financial contract of theirs. Yeah, it's messy.
Definitely.
Despite these odds, this would turn into a whirlwind romance for Diana and Dodi. He would send her flowers and take her on romantic weekend vacations, and the paparazzi soaked it all up. In fact, the photographer who snuck pictures of the two of them kissing on the yacht would sell these photos for $2 million.
That's gross. I find that gross.
It's gross.
Yeah.
The media coverage surrounding Diana absolutely intensified at this point, given how much money these photographs were worth. Like, if you find out one guy for a kissing photo got $2 million,
everybody is going to go out and buy a disposable camera and start taking pictures.
Wouldn't you?
Yes.
Like, well, hopefully. Wouldn't you? I hope I wouldn't.
No, I wouldn't.
But yeah, and so, the media coverage is just anything that she'd experienced up to this point got 10 times worse.
Yeah.
Now, unfortunately, we have made it to Diana's death. We are now at August 30th, 1997. She and Dodi arrived in Paris that afternoon. They went straight from the airport to the Ritz Hotel. Diana stayed there while Dodi left to go to a jewelry store where he was seriously inspecting an engagement ring. Apparently, he had called his dad the night before and said, like, I'm kind of considering marrying this chick.
Yeah.
They left the hotel that evening to head to Dodi's apartment for a period of time where they kind of just camped out there. Apparently, they had other plans for shopping and whatnot, but the paparazzi presence was so overwhelming that they essentially gave up on the majority of their plans that day.
That sucks.
That's horrible.
Yeah.
That they make it impossible. Like, even to the point where they end up deciding, let's get out of the hotel just to like go to a late night dinner. They don't even end up being able to do that because the paparazzi presence is so massive.
Yeah.
They decided instead to just go back to the Ritz and chill out there for a little while. They hung out there for a few hours, and then at roughly 10:30 p.m., they decided to leave. They called for the man that had driven them earlier from the airport to the Ritz, a man named Henry Paul. He was the head of security for the Ritz Hotel, and they asked for him to come pick them up. Now, despite the absolutely thorough investigation that went into this incident, which we'll be discussing shortly, still to this day, we do not know what or where Henry was for those hours between when he gave the couple a ride. What we do know, though, from a later toxicology report was that Henry was found to have no food in his stomach, but instead enough alcohol to be 3 times over the drinking and driving limit in France.
Which they probably have a higher drink.
I'm like, there's a drinking and driving limit? That is a thing in France. There is a limit. Isn't that amazing? It's like
crazy.
Here is like drinking, no driving.
Yeah.
There is a range, and he was 3 times over that range.
Wow.
In fact, he was found to have the equivalent of more than a bottle of wine in his system. That makes my stomach want to rip in half just hearing that. More than a bottle of wine.
Yeah, even like there have been a couple nights where I've probably had half a bottle myself.
I have.
And I'm donezo with half a bottle.
And don't want to drink wine again for like 2 to 3 days.
No.
For at least another 12 hours.
Right, at least.
But like, ow.
Yeah, that's ew.
Owie. And so it makes sense, honestly, like as thorough as this investigation was, it makes sense that we don't really know.
Well, yeah, he was off drinking somewhere.
And who would want to say they were the bartender that served him the drinks that caused him to kill the Princess of Wales?
Yeah.
That's why we don't know. After he received this call that Diana and Dodi needed a ride, he made his way back to the Ritz Hotel where he waited for them in the hotel lobby and had 2 more drinks there.
Okay. Why?
I know, just why? In order to trick the paparazzi, the plan was to have the official cars of the couple take off minutes before the couple would actually leave in a separate car in the hopes that the paparazzi would follow the more official vehicles. So about 20 minutes after midnight on August 31st, 1997, Henry, he hops behind the driver's seat. Dodi's bodyguard, Trevor Reese-Jones, hops into the passenger seat, and then Diana and Dodi hop in the back. None of them are wearing seatbelts. Unfortunately, their plan to avoid the paparazzi with this decoy car was thwarted. When a few members of the paparazzi spotted them getting into this secondary car, they alerted the other paparazzi and they all started following them. From my research, it appears that there were roughly 14 members of the paparazzi closely following the couple, either in cars or on motorcycles.
Chaos.
Henry was speeding to get away from them at what is reported as somewhere between 90 and 120 miles per hour. I didn't even know you could drive that fast in Paris because...
In Paris? Yeah.
I've only been stuck in traffic in Paris where it took me like 2 hours to get somewhere that...
It's like a few blocks.
to get a few blocks. I mean, I'm not exaggerating.
Yeah, no,
Granted,
I
I was in a tour bus and I know that's harder to maneuver.
Yeah.
But it took us like 2 hours one day to get somewhere that I probably could have walked to in 30 minutes.
Oh, absolutely.
So I didn't even know you could go that fast in Paris, but I mean, you learn something new every day.
Yeah.
As if going between 90 and 120 miles per hour is not bad enough. It's extra bad as they are headed toward a tunnel where the speed limit within this tunnel was 30 miles an hour.
Generally, speed limits are put there for a reason.
Yes. Which, sure, we don't all follow them.
No.
But we follow them within a range of like 10.
Yeah, exactly. There's a range. We're Californians, okay? We speed. Let's be real.
We are nationally known as being one of the worst drivers.
Yeah.
If the speed limit is 30 in a tunnel, I'm going 40. Or 45
max,
in a tunnel.
Yeah.
Max. And the truth is like, even when you... I'm going to sound like I'm on a pedestal here, but like, speed limits exist for a reason. Even...
Yes.
On my way here, like I'm looking out the window of where we're recording at Leah's house. It's pouring rain outside.
Mm-hmm.
I was going like 40 miles an hour the whole way here because I was adapting to the weather conditions.
Exactly.
You naturally adapt if you're cognizant and you're not drunk.
Yeah.
When you go into a tunnel, there is a reason you have to reduce your speed, and you naturally would. to adapt to those settings.
Exactly.
Like the speed limit is there for a reason, and naturally your body reacts to like, oh, I'm coming through
a narrow, dark tunnel
that has winding turns. There's a reason that these things exist.
Yeah.
As they made their way into this tunnel at a dangerously fast pace, Henry crashed directly into one of the center pillars at about 60 miles per hour. You've seen the pictures of the car.
It's been a long time, but yeah, I have. It's destroyed.
It's completely destroyed. It's a miracle that anyone survived this. Absolutely miraculously, Doty's bodyguard actually did survive this horrendous, tragic crash, though it was with horrible injuries.
Yeah.
Disgustingly, there are stories of paparazzi swarming the car and taking pictures of Diana in it as she struggled for her life. I can't.
It's disgusting. It's disgusting. Instead of helping, swarm the car to save their life, to try to save them, sure, but to get your $1 million photo.
There's even a story of this guy, a photographer, that was like calling his editor from the scene saying like, hey, I just got the shot. How much can I get for it? I like that actually, if I think about it too long, I would cry that she's struggling for her life, listening to people betting on how much they're going to get for pictures of her dying.
Yeah.
That is gross.
Yeah. It's disgusting and it's disturbing.
Yes.
It makes you a little ashamed of humanity.
Absolutely. So as she is struggling for her life, Doty and Henry, on the other hand, were dead on the scene. An electric chainsaw was used to pull Diana from the car. And as author Christopher Anderson put it in his book titled The Day Diana Died, the French ambulance has kind of a way of using a stay and play method as opposed to our American way of scoop and run.
It's like stabilize, get them on the road to the hospital.
Exactly. They try what they can do on the scene to save Diana before they transport her to the hospital, which means that she didn't arrive at the hospital until nearly 2 hours after the crash, which we can talk of the pros and cons of the American way of like scoop them up and go to where there are more resources. But also there are dangers to doing that with like
transporting while they're not fully stabilized could hurt them more.
Exactly. And, being jostled around in a car when maybe their neck is already broken exactly. There's pros and cons to both. An x-ray at the hospital showed that she was internally bleeding and suffering cardiac arrest. The doctors did everything they could to save her, including electric shock and a heart massage, but it was too late. And at 4 a.m., the 36-year-old Princess of Wales was pronounced dead. Her death was absolutely tragic. Have you seen that video of the guys that are playing cards?
There's like a group of these men. They're so like playing cards and they're like all joking and stuff the first like minute or two. And there's a TV playing in the background. And then all of a sudden you just hear one of them go, Diana died, or like, Princess Diana died. And it just silence.
It gives me goosebumps.
Yeah.
It is because like the first part of the video is them, because they can see footage of like Diana in a crash. And they're not joking like they think it's funny, but they're just like,
about other things.
Well, and also they are making some comments about the screen too, about just like, oh no, hope she's okay, or kind of comments like that. And then just like gasp, she's dead, and they all drop their cards.
I think one of them starts crying.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's, if you haven't seen that video and would like to get goosebumps, just YouTube like men playing cards.
Diana reaction or something.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Oh, it's horrible. And of course, with all of these big celebrity tragedies, an array of conspiracy theories arose to the surface.
Of course.
There were conspiracy theories that the royal family had them killed so that Doty couldn't marry Diana.
Nico was, I mentioned to Nico that we were doing, a Diana.
Did you say it was the royal family?
Yeah, he literally goes, the royals killed her.
I love that. It was the CIA. It was the queen.
It was the queen.
I love it. I mean, I don't love it, but I love that just like speculation. The speculation behind doing this so that Doty couldn't marry Diana is kind of outrageous because he had only just even verbalized that the day before they died. There were also theories that the royal family had them killed because Diana was pregnant, but there was also no evidence of this found in either her blood or her body at the time of her death.
Yeah, and let's be real, I don't really... My issue with the theory that the royals killed her, at this point, do they really care?
Yeah.
That like throughout history, royals have had kids and relationships outside of the marriage
Game of
throughout
Thrones.
history. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And that child wouldn't have any claims to the throne.
Absolutely.
Diana's child outside of her marriage with Prince Charles.
It doesn't affect them in any way other than she would get more publicity.
Exactly. Jealousy?
Yeah, jealousy.
How it would
it just
affect
doesn't
them.
make sense to me.
Yeah. The paparazzi was also blamed for the crash as well. And
I think that's valid.
Yeah.
It is their fault. Maybe not individually, but just the fact that they exist and they're doing the things that they're doing and that they're chasing down a car. They're definitely partially to blame.
Yeah, I think partially is right.
Yeah,
partially. The reason I'm kind of looking like that is my only hesitation is
the guy was drunk.
Exactly. If it's just hard to say, like if he had been sober and was racing to get away from the paparazzi and crashed, it's the paparazzi's fault. In my opinion. But like if
partially to blame. Yeah.
Yes. But the fact that this guy had more than a bottle of wine in his stomach, was he ever going to get them home safely?
Yeah, that's true.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Could he have if he wasn't racing?
I can tell you
get away?
that I've seen that Harry blames the paparazzi. And I might have said that in the last episode. But he's done multiple interviews where he said like this directly led to her death.
Yeah.
She wouldn't be there if it wasn't for them.
Yeah, if we look at it in the sense of like they wouldn't have even gotten in this car at like midnight, after midnight, if the paparazzi hadn't been hounding them all day long. If you want to do like a cause and effect of the full day that they spent, almost full day they spent in Paris, they were avoiding the paparazzi the entire day. They arranged their schedule around the paparazzi. They wouldn't have even been in this car, period.
Yeah.
With a drunk or sober driver had it not been for the paparazzi.
Yeah.
On the scene of the crash, actually, there were a handful of paparazzi members that were arrested there. And although, they were looked at for doing something really gross, they were not found to have done anything illegal.
Right.
There are all these other theories about a bright flash. Maybe we've all heard that one, the bright flash that went off when they entered the tunnel. There's also this theory about the white Fiat that was also in the tunnel at the same time as the crash. There are rumors that it was being driven by a member of MI6. But for me personally, there is no conspiracy. It's rather simple.
Yeah.
Someone that was not a chauffeur. Remember, he was the head of security at a hotel. He didn't drive people around.
Yeah.
That was severely intoxicated and driving a group of people, none of which were wearing seatbelts.
Yeah.
Went through a tunnel at roughly 100 miles per hour. It's pretty simple, unfortunately.
And
tragic.
Yeah.
A more formal investigation was conducted into Diana's tragic death. This nearly 1,000-page report dove into more than 100 different conspiracy theories, addressed and debunked them all, just to settle on the fact that her death was a horrible and tragic accident.
Yeah, and like going back, me like blaming the paparazzi, that's not a conspiracy. That's just like they played a part in the accident.
Yeah. No, I completely agree with that.
Yeah. Okay, now we wanted to discuss the funeral that took place after Diana's death. Mm-hmm. So the funeral procession of Diana, Princess of Wales, started on Saturday, September 6th, 1997, just after 9 a.m. Diana's coffin was taken on an hour and 47-minute ride through London and was treated as a royal ceremony.
Wow.
At St. James's Palace, Prince Philip, the Prince of Wales, and her sons and her brother all joined the procession, followed by 500 representatives of the various charities the princess had been involved with throughout her life.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah. When asked about their involvement in the procession, her son William said it was, quote, one of the hardest things I've ever done.
Yeah.
And her son Harry said, quote, no child should be asked to do what they did.
Absolutely.
Nevertheless, William saw their participation as necessary to maintain balance between duty and family, and that's a direct quote.
And I had heard too, I don't want to villainize Charles so much here because my understanding is he was devastated when she died too. She's the mother of his kids.
Yeah.
And someone that he did spend a lot of his life with. He actually said that when she passed, he has this quote where he says, like, you forget about who she became or the things we went through. I just remember that, like, girl that I met and did admire. But to villainize him a little bit, he did say that he asked for his sons to be a part of the procession to garner sympathy basically for himself. Because he was afraid that the country was going to blame him. That's one of the first things he said when he learned that she had died was, oh, great, they're going to blame me now, right?
Yes.
And so he didn't feel that if his mourning sons are marching alongside him, the crowd's not going to boo him.
Yeah.
That's cruel to put your children through that.
Yeah, and that's something I guess I should have mentioned is the kids were forced to be there.
Yes. They didn't ask to be in this hour and a half long walk or however long you said it was.
Yeah, hour and 40 something minutes. Ooh. 47 minutes. Yeah. So they were forced to be there by their and also Prince Philip also played a big role in like kind of making them all go and be there. So, yeah.
That's horrible.
The procession and coffin eventually passed Buckingham Palace, where more members of the royal family were waiting outside, including Queen Elizabeth II, who simply bowed her head as it went by. The procession was viewed by more than 1 million people who lined the streets of London and ended at Westminster Abbey, where the official ceremony began at 11 a.m. The traditional royal service was followed by a performance of Candle in the Wind by Diana's friend, Elton John, with new lyrics honoring Diana.
Oh, I knew that he sang, but I didn't know that there were lyrics.
Yeah, so the original lyrics are about Marilyn Monroe, and he worked with his writing partner to actually update it so that it was more specific to Diana.
Oh,
yeah.
Wow.
A little tidbit I learned that I absolutely adore about this. Apparently, files released by the National Archives showed that the Dean of Westminster at the time, Wesley Carr, had personally appealed to senior aides at the palace to secure Elton John's performance at the funeral, insisting on the inclusion, this is a direct quote, the inclusion of something of the modern world that the princess represented. I just love that, like, the Dean of Westminster was, like, fighting for, like, let's get this gay guy Elton John to perform, because that, like, that's what Princess Diana represented, is, acceptance and, like, kind of this new inclusion. Modern world.
Yeah, she did.
Diana's sisters each read a poem and her eulogy was delivered by her brother Charles, in which he criticized openly the royal family and the press for their treatment of his sister, saying, quote, "It is a point to remember that of all the ironies about Diana, perhaps the greatest was this. A girl given the name of the ancient goddess of hunting was, in the end, the most hunted person of the modern age." End quote. And that was in her eulogy. Wow. Yeah. 2,000 people were in attendance inside Westminster Abbey for the official ceremony, while a whopping 32.1 million Brits viewed on television. This is the highest viewing figures ever recorded for a British television program, even to this day.
32.1 million.
Yeah, and that's nothing because an estimated 2 to 2.5 billion people watched worldwide. It is, without question, the biggest and most watched television event in history, and it's only, kind of ironically, only followed by their wedding, Diana and Charles's wedding.
I have goosebumps all over my body because that just makes me really sad.
I know.
That makes me really sad that she was just hounded by the media her whole life, and then the largest event ever watched on television was her death.
Yeah.
That's really tragic. That there kind of leaves us with Diana's legacy, and there really is no way to wrap it up, so I'm not even going to try. Like, this is my little, that was her legacy.
Yeah.
The end. Like, I really am not going to try. She means so much to so many people, and she means something different to everyone.
Absolutely.
I think we continue to see her impacts and her influences in fashion, definitely now with the biker shorts and the like big sweatshirts.
Yep.
In culture, in philanthropy, and in her sons. We could talk for ages about this particular topic and go on a million different tangents. I'm sure we've even kind of done it a bit over the course of these 2 episodes.
Yeah.
But I think what we see going on with Prince Harry and Meghan Markle reflects on the legacy of Diana.
I mean, directly.
It does. Prince Harry removing his family from the royal family when he saw the deep isolation and depression his wife was experiencing as a result of the many torments his mom too once suffered. That alone could be her legacy.
No, it's really sad just that it, but also like heartwarming that he saw the things that Charles saw too.
Yep.
And
he's
did something about it.
Yeah. And something that I heard him say, I assume it was in the Oprah interview because it's the only time they've really talked candidly about it. He said, like, watching his wife go through what she went through makes him even more sad about his mom because she went through it alone.
Yeah.
Like he said, like, my mom did this alone.
Yeah. I love Prince Harry and Meghan Markle, but I really love Prince Harry because another really interesting interview I've heard him do was on the podcast Armchair Expert.
I haven't heard this one, but I heard it was good.
Yeah. And it's excellent. And he kind of talks a little more candidly about it, but then also it shows like how much he cares about like mental health and stuff. And it's because of
his mom
seeing not just his wife struggle, but also his mom struggle with all the things, bulimia, depression, suicidal thoughts. He's seen a lot, and he's using his voice to kind of try to make a difference, just like she did.
Yeah, that breaks my heart, because it just, imagine if she were still here, like how much she would have been like, and really like her legacy too was all the money that she left for Harry, he used to bring his family to the United States.
Yeah.
Not that he used all that money, but he has said it's because of the inheritance his mom left behind that he was able to get his family out.
Yeah.
She directly led to him escaping the torments that she experienced.
Yeah.
It's really sad.
Mm-hmm.
I feel sad leaving the episode on this note, but this episode can only end in a sad way, right? There's no way to end it happily. Diana was an incredibly tragic, complicated, complex person who was also very compassionate and witty and charming and sincere.
Mm-hmm.
She wasn't perfect. She was human, but she was an inspiration, and she will continue to inspire for many generations to come. Thank you all so much for listening to this episode of #History.
All sources used to put together this episode can be found on our website at #history-pod.com.
Subscribe to us on whatever podcast platform you use, share about us with your family and friends, and then give us a rate and review.
And be sure to check us out on Instagram at #history_podcast. And we're also on TikTok, so check us out there at #history, all one word.
And come join us over on Patreon, where for as little as $1 a month, you can help support our books and booze supply. You also get access to some behind-the-scenes content, weekly #Hangout episodes, an automatic 15% off all merchandise, and we mail you cards and stickers.
Yep.
Stinkers. We mail you stinkers. Sorry. That sounds like a Harry Potter reference.
Yeah. And we are now so excited to announce that next week's season finale guests will be... Beyond Reproach!
Yay!
We are so thrilled to have our pod besties, Stephanie and Tux, on the show with us next week to wrap up yet another great season.
I'm so excited to have them on the
We've
show.
been talking about it pretty much since season 1,
for 3 years now, pretty much.
Yeah.
They're so wonderful. I know that you all have heard us talk about them a million times because they are such a great podcast. If you don't already listen to them, make sure you do that because they are so great. And I know they're going to bring a really great story for us next week.
Very exciting.
So exciting. All right, thank you.
Thanks.
Bye.
Bye. Last week, I just burped, on marieclaire.com. Is it Marie Claire or Mary Claire? Oh, whatever.
As her body card.
She helped promised,
in other words.
Henry.
You're going to have to say that every time. His name comes up multiple times.
Henry.
I will be calling him Henry Paul.
Yeah, please do. I'm joking.
And come join us over on Patreon for where